Work it, make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
Talk's friendly little proletariat uprising. America's first competition talk show. You're in the hub.
When something exceeds your ability to understand why you would ever want one, that's when a device truly becomes for idiots, and that's exactly who the iPad is for. It's hard to believe that a device that's bigger and thicker than the iPhone could possibly do the exact same things an iPhone does, except calling. But it does. The iPhone was such an amazing device that we created so many amazing technologies for that we just wanted to take this technology and apply it to something that's exactly the same as an iPhone, just bigger.
Obviously, about a month and a half ago, all of us were thinking about the oil spill nonstop. Are they going to plug it? Are they not going to be able to plug it? Daddy, did you plug the hole yet? Daddy, did you not plug the oil yet? Shut up about the hole, honey. It's none of your business. You know, we were just thinking about this constantly. Well, they plugged the hole, finally, honey. And now we got a new problem, to behold. We're trying to understand how in the world the oil that was floating on the surface disappeared so quickly. We've got experts now coming out. This is like, the oil here is like disappearing ink. You've got guys like Edward Bauer with Johns Hopkins University saying he's an environmental engineer. He and Jeff Short, who's with a group called Oceana, were saying that as much as 40% of the oil will evaporate before these kind of things take place, before 2 months is out. Another expert came in, Richard Howard, said that boats actually can only eat up 1 to 2% of the oil off the surface by skimming off the surface on average. They learned this from the Exxon Valdez spill. And then you got guys saying that a lot of it sinks to the ocean floor, and then you got microbes. A lot of these are eaten by microbes. In fact, there are enough microbes in the ocean to eat 40 to 50% of the oil that's ultimately consumed inside of a few months. So, you know what? The problem here is Mother Nature, we're learning, is a little hedonistic show-off. And that's really what we didn't calculate early on, Jason. Where were these guys when we were trying to build a case for changing our entire energy policy in America?
Well, the fact of the matter is, you look at it, and oil is not something that has been created by man. It's a natural part of the Earth's processes, which over thousands, if not millions of years, you look at seepage coming through naturally from the ocean floor and a lot of other places. Microbes are going to learn to adapt. Things that like this stuff and feed off of it are going to grow and thrive in areas where there's leakage. And you get something like what happened with the spill, and you're going to get natural organisms that feed off this stuff congregating. Once they eat it all up, the excess will die off.
Okay. I mean, you know, by the way, who was it? If they're not made by, oil's not made by man, it's made by that mythical creature you call God, correct?
Maybe, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He probably made some provisions for this.
Well,
exactly.
You know, I mean, you
somewhere
guys
between day 4 and day 6, I can't remember.
You know, then he took a break because it was a good, productive day.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, this story was bizarre, but I found one even more bizarre than this just recently. And honestly, I mean, to me, this makes common sense, but see what you think. They have done a study now, and who did this study? Was this an Apple study, or was this this is another different group? Anyway, they did an independent study by a group called MyType, and they realized just recently that iPad owners, as opposed to non-iPad owners, the new iPad that Apple put out a few months back, have certain characteristics. iPad owners, they classified in this study as selfish elites, whereas independent geeks, the have-not crowd, they tend to not be iPod owners. So, and the way the numbers broke down, and you know this is true because if you think about it, all the iPod owners and users out there, you drive smart cars, and you have the little coexist sticker on the back, and you know you have hemp suitcases, that kind of thing. So we know this about you. Just off camera, we'll leave that off camera on the computer, but. The proof of the matter is, when you point at this, like when you look at the numbers here, the average population, 3% of the population owns an iPad now. 11% of them are critics. 18% of the owners were classified as selfish elites. 4% of owners were classified as independent geeks, so it's like a 6-to-1 almost. And it shows that the world, I guess, is full of critics, and that iPad people would rather just get along. What do you think, Lavin? Yeah, are you a Mac user, or are you a Mac or a PC? The great debate.
I'm not. In fact, if I didn't have to use a computer, that would be fantastic.
Oh, okay. So you're.
So I'm very old school.
So you're more of a quill pen girl. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And a nice handwritten letter with a stamp on it as opposed to an email.
Hopeless romantic.
Just kidding, but no, I'm not. I don't have an iPad, and granted, I don't hope any harm for anyone that does use one, but I can see where it can be useful, but I don't have the time or prioritize my money to buy one.
Yeah, and see, this brings back up the whole debate about the open platform, closed platform thing. Jason, Apple products and iPad, and I'll say, just put that right in here with us, but Apple products in general are the computer of Karl Marx. Adam Smith, George Washington would have had PCs because Apples are closed platforms. They're more reliable, but it's this top-down, authoritarian, the minority elites control the whole damn thing.
I like BlackBerry.
See, you're an open source kind of guy. You are a free market capitalist, and no free market capitalist would be called dead.
Too. Just
you have BlackBerry? See, and I've got a BlackBerry.
But
so
now, my younger brother was one of those people who ran out and bought an iPad one of the first days. And realistically, I may be the type of person to go out and buy an iPad, but I'm not going to buy it the first one that comes out because it has all the bugs in it.
Yeah. You are conservative, inherently conservative about your choices.
Right. Of course, I made the same decision about the iPhone. I still, obviously, do not have an iPhone. However, apparently the iPhone 4 came out with all kinds of problems, so I guess that theory doesn't always work.
Well, and that could be true. And one of the things...
But it was the first iPhone 4,
That's
right?
true.
Yes.
So
very true.
Yes.
We'll wait till the second or third.
But he didn't get it day one.
8,
right. So,
yes.
That one of the things the study revealed is that selfish elites are 6 times more likely to own iPads than the average person. And that makes sense because elites are really always trying to avoid doing what average people do. Mm-hmm. It's how they stay above average. If they weren't to, if they were to, as soon as they discover what the average person is planning to do, they run out and do the same thing and try to outdo them. So...
Well... Kind of an interesting situation. I don't know if it's indicative of the study or supports it. But last week I took the Georgia bar exam. And when I first went to the prep course, and it was mostly the younger recent law school grads. The kids who went from undergrad straight into law school and are 23, 24 graduating, as opposed to people like me who are in their second careers. But a lot of them ran out and got the iPads. So maybe that does say something.
Okay.
A generational thing.
It could be. I mean, it could very well be a generational thing. This My Type group that conducted this study, I think it shows its bias because the studies are always done by elites as a general rule because they're required. Studies require doing more, and the average people would not do that much.
Or these law school grads, so young law school grads consider themselves elites.
That could be the case too. I couldn't imagine that.
No, of course not.
Yeah, they say the average iPad user is more sophisticated, more wealthy, we're more highly educated. They're interested in business and that type of thing as a general rule, and they really could care less about altruism. They're greedy bastards. Lavin?
Well, they're definitely going to have more disposable income. And
yeah, get the $600 computer that they already had one of.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that can ring true to an extent. I mean, you definitely have to have the money to pay for the iPad and everything that goes with it. It's not like you can just, or even the, I mean, any of them, as you were saying, you can't just buy one thing. You have to buy a whole series of these things, which does cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, because you got to line up with the accessories after.
And thus, a lot of the lower middle class folks maybe can't afford that, or that's not their priority. They're trying to just make sure there's food on the table and the kids get new tennis shoes and that kind of stuff.
Especially in this economy.
I'm a firm believer that if you're an iPad person, as a general rule, you shouldn't have to change everything you do in life. God forbid you go out and be more altruistic. Realistically, what this tells me is that if I'm in marketing at Apple right now, I just make sure you donate a portion to the proceeds to feed the children and put a Feed the Children screensaver on the front. Just preload it in. You'll feel more altruistic right off the bat. We'll see you tomorrow.